Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Learn Payload with Colin. Today I want to discuss something that I was working on a little bit just as an experiment and just for fun for my own education. And I thought I would share it here today because I think it's pretty cool, or at least it can be. There's a lot of potential there. And so what I did was I created a CLI tool for Payload. Now Payload already comes with a CLI, but to me it's a little bit basic, and I wanted to enhance it a little bit. And in fact, in a previous video, I started moving in that direction anyway with database seeders. I'll link to that video, but in that video, at a high level, what I did was I created a script that I can run on the command line that will seed my database with at the very least my first user, because it got to be a bit cumbersome and tedious, especially while I'm doing these lesson videos where I'm tearing down the database and having to restart the app and all this stuff, and having to go back into the admin panel and re-register my first user. That was getting kind of old. And so at the very least, I wanted something on the command line that I could just seed my database with that first user, so I don't have to keep going into the browser and registering that user. So that was the first thing I did. And again, I did a video on that, on how I did that. But because of my a bit of curiosity, I was like, well, what could I actually go into the Payload CLI that already exists from Payload, where they offer, the migrate fresh, create migrations, and all of that. Could I actually add commands to that script itself, like db seed, for instance, or maybe you can call it db init, if you're just concerned about that first user. There's all kinds of enhancements we could make to that Payload CLI that I think would be useful as Payload developers. And so what I did, and this is actually inspired by Laravel's Artisan CLI, because I've used that quite a bit in the past. And if any of you are familiar with that, let me know. But basically, Artisan has a lot of the same commands available to Laravel developers, like creating migrations, database migrations, seeding, and it actually has a plugin system, so you can create your own commands. It's used for generating models, and again, I'm talking about Laravel models, but in Payload, we would discuss things like generating collections or generating globals or other types of configs, or even custom fields. Like, wouldn't it be cool to have a script that would allow you to generate a lot of these things in an opinionated way, so that you're not having to scour the internet for examples on how to create a custom field? Wouldn't it be cool if you could just create a custom field using Payload's own opinion on how to create custom fields? You would just type in a command and boom, you get a custom field template, basically, that you can then go and edit and customize to your needs. So anyway, what I did was I created my own CLI tool. So let me show you what I did, and let me know if you find it useful. All right, let's take a look. So if you head on over to my GitHub organization, Learn Payload, you'll see I have a new repo called Payload CLI, and it's going to be a global NPM script that you can install globally. I think I haven't tried it as a dev dependency on your project yet. So this is experimental. I wanted to make sure I called that out. This is all just me learning Payload and everything. A lot of the code in here is basically the same code that you would find in the Payload repo for doing database migrations and that kind of stuff, but I just included it in this code base. And so you can install it globally, and again, if you want to try to do it as a dev dependency, go ahead, but I'm not sure how that will work. But you get all of the available commands that you're already maybe aware of, that is part of the native Payload CLI. But I added another one called dbseed, which is really the main goal. My initial goal was to have this, but have a roadmap for some ideas too. So here's some usage documentation, how to do some of this stuff, database seeding. The db seed runs your database seeder file, and what you do, you just simply create a seed.ts file in a db folder, and then whatever your logic looks like inside, for seeding, you just have a handler. You export a handler in your seeder file, and then you can do whatever you want within there. Maybe in the future we'll create some wrappers around some of this stuff to make it a little bit easier to connect to your payload config and use the payload local API for doing stuff. I don't know, but this is just sort of a quick opener for getting started with a seeder. And actually, if you look at my repo, my Learn Payload repo, you can see an example of a seeder in there as well. In here, you can see I have, and this is just my own opinionated way of generating seeders. And so you can see I have a handler here, and then this code here is just my own nuanced or idiosyncratic method for seeding the database. But you can have any code you want in here to seed your database. Maybe it's even direct calls to your Drizzle ORM library for seeding. It doesn't really matter. You can put whatever code you want in here. And so that's what dbseed is going to do. And for me, the main priority for dbseed is to get that first user injected into the database. The tool expects that if you run this within your project folder, it expects this file to exist for obvious reasons, for doing migrations and stuff like that. On the roadmap, I have, taking inspiration from Laravel's Artisan CLI, plan to expand this tool's capabilities, maybe the ability to generate your own custom commands that you can run on the command line. Component generation, collection configurations, global configurations, new components, maybe blocks. How cool would it be to generate a block, that kind of stuff. Your own blocks, based off of your own templates and that kind of stuff. A plugin template, boilerplate plugin, generate a new plugin for Payload. Testing tools, interactive command generation wizard, custom component template support, plugin marketplace integration. I don't know. I just threw some stuff out there that could make this a really cool tool to use for developers. And then here I just have links to the various resources. And so that's it. The way this is organized is you have a set of commands in here. So this is all just the code that you can find within the Payload ecosystem itself for creating migrations and refreshing the database and all of that stuff. This is a work in progress, but so far I have just the basics working. If you install it globally, at least, you have access to all of these commands. And let me show you that real quick. So I'm back here in the code, and you can see that I have a payload command that's been installed globally, and it's an executable. And by the way, yes, I failed to mention that this is all of this code is TypeScript, and I didn't want, just for this experimental and sort of development phase of this CLI, I'm deliberately restricting this to requiring bun. So if you go back to the documentation, you can see if you go back, yeah, so requirements, bun. This tool is specifically built to run with bun, and obviously within a payload CMS project. So this just makes it easier for me, so to just keep moving forward and run it, so I don't have to run some kind of build script and then mess around with TS configs and all of that kind of stuff. How does it module imports and everything, so I don't have to worry about that. So just keep that in mind. You gotta use bun. And then back over here, so when I say use bun, payload, the command itself under the hood uses bun. So it's not like you have to type in bun payload or anything like that. You just type in payload, and you can see all the different commands that are available. And so what I usually run, because I run these, I tear down the database quite a bit, changing branches and all this stuff. What I run a lot is payload migrate fresh, and then this just runs through the payload migrations stuff, and then it tells you you're going to drop the database, and of course I want to do that. And then now my database had all the tables were dropped, and now when I can now run payload db seed, and it'll run the seeders that are in my seeder folder, db seed. So this is what I showed you earlier. It'll run all of these seeders. And this user seeder, again, is just the one that creates my initial users. So that's it for now. I just wanted to, I had fun putting this together. It was a neat little experiment. I learned a lot, and I really think there's room for, there's a lot of potential here. And I could see this growing into quite a decent tool for developers. And if you think so, or if you have any constructive feedback, I definitely would love to hear it. I don't know where the direction of this might go, but I think I want to keep working on it, and perhaps maybe even the payload team will want to fold it into their own ecosystem, which I would be completely 100% on board with. So let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.